Hey, everybody. Welcome back, folks. Listen up. As you pop on, hit the like button, drop over in comments. Tell me who you are, where you're watching from. Folks, have you seen what's happening? Breaking news. I think we're very close to President Trump declaring, and I am not joking, declaring the Insurrection Act. Um, Listen to Carolyn.
How are you? Good to see you all. What we have seen transpire in Los Angeles, California in recent days is shameful. Left-wing radicals waving foreign flags viciously attacked ICE and Border Patrol agents as well as Los Angeles police officers. These criminals injured police, threw rocks at police cars and officers, burned vehicles, shut down freeways, and lobbed Molotov cocktails, all because the Trump administration was removing violent criminal illegal aliens from the city. These attacks were aimed not just at law enforcement, but at American culture and society itself. Rioters burned American flags, chanted "Death to ICE," and spray-painted anti-American slogans on buildings. But President Trump will never allow mob rule to prevail in America. The most basic duty of government is to preserve law and order, and this administration embraces that sacred responsibility. Democrats like Governor Gavin Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass shamefully failed to meet their sworn obligations to their citizens. They didn't have the courage to do the right thing and protect law-abiding Californians from rioters. That's why President Trump deployed the National Guard and mobilized Marines to end the chaos and restore law and order. The mob violence is being stomped out. The criminals responsible will be swiftly brought to justice, and the Trump administration's operations to arrest illegal aliens are continuing unabated. When the initial immigration enforcement actions took place on June 6th, Mayor Bass took to social media to say she was deeply angered by what has taken place. Mayor Bass then embarked on one of the most outrageous campaign of lies this country has ever seen from an elected official, blaming President Trump and brave law enforcement officers for the violence. She accused heroic American immigration and customs enforcement officers targeting illegal alien murderers, rapists, and pedophiles of, quote, sowing terror in communities and disrupting basic principles of safety in our city. Around the same time, Governor Newsom claimed that immigration enforcement actions were causing chaos. That's how radical Democrats have become. Their opposition to President Trump has forced them to side with illegal alien criminals in their communities and violent rioters and looters over law enforcement officers who are just doing their jobs. Mayor Bass and Governor Newsom fanned the flames and demonized our brave ICE officers. Instead of defending their city and their state, Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom claimed that in order for the riots and the violence to stop, ICE needed to leave and immigration raids must end. In other words, the position of the Democrat Party is that the federal government is not allowed to enforce our laws and to arrest and deport illegal alien criminals. They're attempting to use a violent mob as a weapon against their own constituents to prevent the enforcement of immigration law. This is deeply un-American and morally reprehensible.
Okay, folks.
Received a clear mandate from voters to.
This is where this is so important that you understand what I say next to you guys. Okay, just listen to me. First off, all right, Washington State, as soon as President Trump was voted in as president, they passed legislation that said that federal troops could not be deployed to their state. Now California has filed a lawsuit that a California judge tossed out. They said no go. The federal government has the right to step in when things are out of control. This stinks of a serious Civil War connotation, if you understand my meaning. Here's the problem. Hey guys, it is our president's job, okay, to defend, the federal government is to defend us against anybody, foreign or domestic. Okay, so that means that yes, when a governor and a mayor who are both aligned with the Communist Socialist Party, because they're the same thing. You go socialism, you might as well just go ahead and say you're a commie, okay? Because that's what it is. When these people begin to push back against the laws of the nation, to reward bad behavior, there's only one step from where we're at. If President Trump declares the Insurrection Act, sends out the military en masse, locks down the U.S., does huge deportations, we may push back a civil war 20, maybe 30 years. But is it coming? Because the one world order is coming. This is what the World Economic Forum wants. If you missed the video I just put up about Black Americans being injured, financially due to mass immigration, I highly suggest you go watch it. Did you guys know that in America right now, out of all the people that work, 1 out of every 5 is a foreign-born worker with ties and allegiance to another country? 1 out of 5. That means of those 5 people, only 4 people are American, only 4 people are paying taxes. It's important to know the statistics.
Reverse the illegal invasion ushered in by Joe Biden's open border, and to end the lawlessness represented by Karen Bass in Gavin Newsom's California. President Trump promised to carry out the largest mass deportation campaign in American history, and left-wing riots will not deter him in that effort. Sanctuary cities and states will no longer be allowed to shield illegal criminals from deportation. Just take a look at some of the illegal monsters who were taken off the streets in Los Angeles in recent days. A Vietnamese national, a known gang member with a conviction for second-degree murder. A Mexican national with convictions for child molestation who is armed with a dangerous weapon and had previous arrests for robbery and domestic violence. A Filipino national with convictions of rape, assault, burglary, and theft. A Mexican national convicted of statutory rape, narcotics violations, and hit and run. A Nicaraguan national with convictions for domestic violence and hit and run, and a previous arrest for willful cruelty to a child. And an illegal alien from Mexico who was arrested after allegedly throwing a Molotov cocktail at law enforcement officers during the Paramount riots on Saturday. He is now being charged with attempted murder. Law-abiding American citizens do not want these public safety threats living in their communities, no matter what Democrats like Karen Bass and Gavin Newsom may claim. And let this be an unequivocal message to left-wing radicals in other parts of the country who are thinking about copycatting the violence in an effort to stop this administration's mass deportation efforts. You will not succeed. Any lawlessness will only strengthen this president's resolve to defend the majority of Americans who want to live their lives peacefully, free from the fear of violent, criminal, illegal aliens. As President Trump said, order will be maintained and illegal aliens will be expelled from our country. In economic news, the latest consumer price index inflation report came in today below expectations again. Since President Trump took office, inflation has come in below economics expectations every single month. Core inflation held steady and remains at the lowest level since.
So there it is. The Paramount riots started for people defending child molesters. Now, these are the same people that mutilate children, right? The same people that believe in aborting babies, even and up to your delivery time. So, of course, they would defend these people. Of course they would. My biggest concern, though, is watching the looters and seeing that 80 to 90% of them are Latino and Black. I'm just saying, folks, we have a much bigger problem in this country. And if 1 out of every 5 employee in America is foreign born, where are your kids going to work? Excuse me. Where are your kids going to get a job? Seriously. Who's going to employ your kids? Because statistically, Filipinos hire Filipinos. Okay? Blacks hire blacks. Mexicans hire Mexicans. The only people in this country that hire across ethnic grounds on the majority, I'm not saying every one of them do that, but the majority hire people that look like them while turning around and telling white people that we're racist. White business owners hire the people who are best for the job. So, what is America going to look like in 20 years? Who's going to hire your children? I'm just asking. I'm just asking. Something for you to think about, folks. By the way, we are going to be Zooming Friday the 13th. So excited. We are going to have another Zoom. It is Starkey Farmstead's Peace Summit is what we call it. This will be our second Zoom talking about how you can stay safe and what you can do. But I will tell you this, continue to call your congressman. You are not helpless. Pick the phone up. Call your congressperson. Tell them you want President Trump to immediately declare the Insurrection Act. Tell them you want it. Because, see, the White House is going for hardline criminals and people who've been deported multiple times. There is a majority of people in this country that want all illegal aliens removed. Every one of them, regardless of your criminal history. We can't afford you. We can't house you. We cannot continue to feed you. And yes, they're still doing it in sanctuary states. By the way, did y'all see what happened in Seattle? They took over the entire federal building. Hold on.
Federal agents from
hostages.
This story really flew under the radar. Protesters in Seattle decided to blockade off a federal building. And of course it turned violent. So we're going to go over the details and dig into this story because not a lot of people are talking about it. Now, before we start the video, make sure to please like the video. It's the #1 way you guys are helping this channel, but it also helps others see the videos as well. And since no one is talking about this, we need to make sure people are informed.
Anti-ICE protesters camped outside the downtown Seattle Federal Building where they are blocking federal agents from transferring detainees to and from immigration court. Thanks for being with us at 11 o'clock. I'm Steve Solis. The standoff has been unfolding for hours along 2nd Avenue outside the Henry Jackson Federal Building.
Okay, and you have to remember Seattle is a sanctuary city, so it's not surprising we have people trying to barricade and block off a federal building from receiving illegal immigrants to face trial. However, the surprising part is how long this lasted before any intervention actually occurred. So we're going to dig into it from the beginning till the end, and make sure you stick around because
that gentleman's page is called T, like the letter T, SPLY, if you want to go check out the entirety of that video. There were no Seattle police there. They just didn't even show up to help out the federal agents. There's a direct split between state employees and federal employees. America's coming apart at the seams. There were protests in New Orleans. There were protests in North Carolina. There were protests in Chicago, 2 different places in New York, Arizona. Houston had numerous. It was bad. This is interesting. Watch.
On the ground in LA for us at this hour. Max, how are things looking there?
Hey there, Sandra. Well, relative calm here at the federal complex in downtown LA. This has really been the epicenter of the protest, but as you can see around me, not very many protesters.
Protesters arrested with guns.
At this moment, just some National Guard soldiers standing guard at this moment. Also no sight of the 700 Marines that have been deployed from 29 Palms. Those Marines are still down in Seal Beach, just south of the LA area. They're conducting training, and when they are going to be getting to the Los Angeles area into downtown LA, they will not have any live ammunition, and they will not be conducting law enforcement activities. They'll just be protecting buildings like this one, federal buildings, as well as protecting federal employees as well. But as you can see all around us, this is the scene at this hour. Now, a curfew has also been put into place for downtown LA from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. for the next several days. Mayor Karen Bass said it was in response to 23 businesses being looted Monday night. 17 people were arrested last night for curfew violations. While protesters again blocked freeway traffic and clashed with law enforcement yesterday, demonstrations have been growing smaller. Meanwhile, law enforcement has been cracking down. On Tuesday, LAPD arrested more than 200 people during the protest, with 3 people arrested with guns. 1 person arrested for assault with a deadly weapon on a police officer, and another arrested for pointing a laser at an LAPD helicopter. President Trump saying in a recent phone call he chastised California Governor Gavin Newsom for his handling of the protests.
I mean, I've always had a good relationship with him. He just doesn't do a very good job. They should have never been allowed to start. And if we didn't get involved, Los Angeles would be burning down right now, just like the houses burned down.
And you know, the shame of it, President Trump hasn't said really anything bad about Gavin Newsom, just that he doesn't do a good job. Gavin Newsom literally lied about the phone call he had with President Trump Monday night. It was a 16-minute phone call. These people are habitual liars. You know why? They don't have God. Aloha, Stacy. Oh, thank you for asking that question. Oh, I forgot to mention that. She said, how do you feel about sending the military unarmed? I'm pissed. I'm a military mother. 2 sons in the military, 1 serving in the Middle East, 1 serving in Florida. How do I feel about putting these young men and women around federal buildings to protect them without live ammunition? How stupid. You know, maybe if they would get rid of the rubber bullets and actually use the real ones, all this crap would just stop. Because let me tell you something. The problem with a lot of the world right now is people are like this. You see a threat, you can't respond to the threat until the threat becomes like bodily harm. Then you can respond. But by that time, for the majority of people, it is already too late to defend yourself. When you see a threat, you should be able to unthreaten it right there, right then. No, and nothing. Done. You're no longer a threat. Yes, the criminals do know this. You've got the cartel embedded. You've got the governor eating out of the cartel's hands. You got a mayor that supports communism overseas, and you're going to put the military there without them being armed? Now, without a doubt, there's guns nearby. Like, I understand that. Like, yes, they're standing there, but there are people close by with weapons, even if they tell the people they're not. The reason they're probably putting them out there without live ammunition is because these protesters don't seem to understand that strobe lighting in people's faces, spitting in people's faces, physically touching people could end up with them losing their lives, and they're hoping to avoid that. Either way, I do not think it's fair to the military. I think President Trump's being too nice. I'm tired of dancing around with these people. I'd like to see America be a little uncivilized. Can I get an amen? Because if you come into my town and come close to my home with rioting, looting, and burning, I'm going to be a little uncivilized. I practice for it. I practice being a little uncivilized. I trained my dogs to be a little uncivilized. And I'm going to be honest, I feel like I was set free from drug addiction and put back on the right path at this stage of my life because I was created for a time such as this. And so were you. These people mean you harm. Can you imagine living under a world controlled by Gavin Newsom? Can you imagine living under a world and in a world that is controlled by the Democrat Party? We thought Joe Biden was worse, but if they ever get back in power again, do you know what they're going to do? I said this earlier, and I really do mean it. I just find it so hypocritical of the world that they constantly, separate Americans by color. So black people see themselves as separate, yet white people have always welcomed others into the things that we create. You know what I'm saying? Like every white majority country, we've always been such giving people. We've always allowed others to share what we have created. Maybe we need to stop allowing immigrants into our countries for a few years until we can get these people acclimated and get the bad seeds out. Because if 1 out of every 5 people working in America right now are foreign born, that's a bit too much. No wonder Americans can't afford to have children. I did a video on that. We simply cannot afford to have our own children. Yet Hispanic people are having 5 and 6 and 7. Muslims are having 7, 8, and 9. How is that right? Y'all going to have to start getting angry, America. I'm not telling you to run out there and do anything like these people. But I'm telling you it's okay for you to be irritated and upset and concerned about what America's going to look like for your children. Do you know what Cuba looks like? Do you know what Mexico? Have any of you ever been to Mexico? I'm not talking about the tourist areas. I'm talking about Mexico. Have any of you ever really left the United States? If you had, you would understand why the rest of us that have traveled are like, this needs to stop. This needs to stop. America for Americans, American jobs for Americans, American university for American children. These people that are coming here are not the best of the best. If they were, why can't they go to their countries and build a better country for their children? Do you see what I'm saying? White people are told on one hand, oh, y'all are so racist, horrible, terrible people. But let us into your countries because it's the best countries in the world. Black people, please understand. They've been lying to you about white Americans. We're not racist. Actually, if you want to know who's racist, it's you guys. So please stop, grow up, and let's get in the boat together and start rowing. We have a Zoom Friday the 13th at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time for everybody gets a newsletter. If you do not get the newsletter, I'm going to drop the links in the top of comments where you type your comment. At the top is one from me. All the different ways you can pay for the newsletter. Make sure you put your email address in the memo. You're definitely going to want to be in there. You'll be able to be on Zooms. You'll also be able to coordinate and meet up with people that are in your own state if you want to, and you'll get a newsletter every month, sometimes twice a month for the next 6 months. It's well worth $30. Anyway, it helps support us since YouTube demonetized me. I love you guys so much. I've got to finish supper. I kicked my husband out of the living room after a hot day in the sun. It's not fair to him. I've brought enough information today. I've proven to you guys, I know what I'm talking about. So either get in the boat or get out. But I love you guys so much. Be blessed. Be safe. Do not counter protest. Definitely come to the Zoom with us Friday where I can tell you why. Be safe.